Election Integrity Fund and Force is a 501c3 and a 501c4, so depending upon whether or not you want a tax deduction for your donation or you want to remain anonymous when you make a donation, you can pick either facet of our organization. We have a vision. Our vision is to unify the United States with transparent and trustworthy elections. We are nonpartisan, but my contention is that the difference between good and evil is partisan. And I will always try to side on the side of good rather than on the side of evil, even though man's heart is continually inclined towards evil. That's Genesis 6:5, but we try the best we can, and I know that this group agrees with me on that front. We believe that election integrity is everybody's issue, not a Democrat, not a Republican issue. It is everybody's issue. And so we want to work together with everyone so that we can have a bigger impact on what we're doing. We were asked, Election Integrity Fund and Force was asked to discuss the election security from the legislative failure perspective. They've only given us 20 minutes. It would take 20 years to go through all the information that we have or that can be gleaned on what the legislature has done wrong. Again, America is a republic if we can keep it. And that modern Republican form of government that America was founded on, Cleon Slauson once said in his book that America took the world from poverty into great technological and spiritual and economic wealth in a 200-year period where men had gone 5,000 years using the same tools. They had a pickaxe, they had a screwdriver, they had a hammer. We, because of our representative Republican form of government, we took the world exponentially ahead by leaps and bounds, and so we deserve to clap for ourselves, please. America is a wonderful republic, and I want to say that I believe in a lawsuit or a court case that was decided at the Supreme Court level in 1886. It's called Norton versus Shelby County. It was a case from Tennessee that clearly defined some very important words that we should keep in our lexicon. The fact that America is a republic is one of them. Republic is on the side of good. Any politician that tells you that we have a democracy, they are on the side of evil, as far as I am concerned, and they should be primaried out of office. They need to be primaried out of office. That is one of the tools that we can use, is at the primary level. Forget about the general election, because by that time, the damage has already been done. If the rhinos and the dinos and the communists all get in at the primary election level, we're done for. We have to focus on the primary. We have a primary here on August 2nd coming up. It's very important that we strategize and that we work together to make sure that we get the right people primaried into a position of at least being a candidate for office. We were asked to speak on legislative failures and what has caused us. One of the first questions that we were asked is, what caused us to be motivated to continue this fight for election integrity, even though we knew we would be demonized and our information would be suppressed? Well, I think that men have been taught, quite frankly, by a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump, that you have a spine. Women have been taught by a lady named Marjorie Taylor Greene that women have a spine. We have really seen everyone increase their activity, their level of leadership exponentially because of men and women who showed us that we have a spine. Now, there's another lady named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I can't even say her name right, but she has shown us that you can have a spine without having a brain. So, and that is the truth of it. That is the truth of it. One of the other questions that we were asked to answer is, do public functionaries understand that election integrity is a national security issue? And I refer to legislators as public functionaries because that is the proper terminology. You need to get that terminology in your lexicon. They are not elected officials. Well, they are, but they are not legislators. They're not kings. They're not queens. They are public functionaries, which means that they are delegated authority by us to do certain functions for the public. That is simple as that. Constitutionally delineated functions for the public. That is all they're supposed to do. Anything else is a usurpation of authority. And this present government is so far astray from what they are supposed to be doing that it's breathtaking. You can hardly consume it all in your mind. They are so bad, and they need so badly to be taken and reined in by the chains of the Constitution that bind even the worst of men to do the right thing. That's the idea of a constitutionally limited republic, if you can keep it. Okay, I wanted to give a couple of examples how we can see that your votes were stolen with algorithms and computers since the year 2000, if not before that. Gentlemen, could you play the clip for me?
Would you please speak into the microphone so the audience can hear your testimony?
I'm a computer programmer.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes,
How do you know that to be the case?
because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
Would you answer that question once again?
They would never see it.
Can you imagine? Our public functionaries sat in a committee hearing, a U.S. House hearing, and listened to this computer programmer in the year 2000 tell them that he had designed a program to flip elections that could never be revealed or seen by the county clerks. That is from an 18-minute tape, and I actually have a 5-minute clip that I'm going to post to electionintegrityforce.com. That's our website. But this was just a taste of what this man said. He went on to, and by the way, you know who was sitting in this hearing? Maxine Waters and Jerry Nadler. They were on that committee. Now, I don't know who else was, but I'm sure there were Republicans, but every single public functionary that sat on that committee is guilty of treason. As far as I'm concerned, they're guilty of treason because their duty is to protect and defend you and me, their leaders. We are their leaders. The hierarchy has been shifted. I give all glory to God, and I'm so glad that some of the other presenters, Jackie and JD, mentioned that this is a Judeo-Christian nation, and we want it to stay that way. God is at the top of everything. We, the people, come next. The legislators, the public functionaries come beneath us, and that's the way we need to realign our political republic. Now, I don't want to seem biased by showing a Democrat. I'm biased on the side of good. I will always err on the side of good whenever I possibly can. God forgive me for being human and all that entails. This I don't expect you to see, but I wanted you to see that this is a screenshot of a text message that I received when Sandy and I were up north in up north Michigan on a tour called Audit Michigan Now. This is a text message from a constituent to Senator Ed McBroom. You don't have to try to read it because I got my next slide that tells you what it says. I just want you to see this is a text message. This is what that text message said. Now, Ed McBroom is the Senate chairman of the Government Oversight Committee, and this is what he said. Just watch, when asked about a forensic audit, I might add. This lady sent him a text message and said, what do we do about a forensic audit? And he said, just watch Mr. Borton's live stream and you can audit the various birds, squirrels, and deer, etc. Can take note of the particular seeds and feeder types too. That's the representative of our state speaking to one of his bosses? This is shameful. And Ed McBroom should be primaried in August of 2022. And there's a young man named Matthew Firk, I believe his name is. He is a fine, upstanding young man that seems to understand constitutional rule of law. I think he is worth taking a look at. If all of us devoted our time to sending a copy of this text message to the voters, the Republican voters in the 38th district in the Upper Peninsula, Ed McBroom would be removed from office if they knew that this is how he treated the people. And the other senators on the Senate Oversight Committee, Lana Tice, John Bison, and the Democrat Jeff Irwin. Those four people put together a report that was so disingenuous because, quite frankly, they revealed a boatload of evidence. But they decided to be not only the committee hearing leaders, they were going to be the judge. And there is no executioner in our government anymore. The executioner position has been written out of law by a sleight of hand because nothing ever happens to them, even when they are found to be guilty of a crime. Nothing ever happens to them. That's got to change. That's got to change. The third question that was asked of us to address is, did we see evidence of the legislature suppressing evidence? Again, I don't have 20 years up here. I got 20 minutes, and I'm splitting my time with my good friend Sandy Kiesel. So, but yes, they are guilty as charged. They have suppressed evidence. I have multiple examples of that. You can go to our website, electionintegrityfund.com, and look at the evidence. I actually have some examples here. They relied upon a professor named J. Alexander Halderman as something of a material witness. He was hired by Jocelyn Benson to be on his election security team in 2019. She then hired him, Jocelyn Benson, who was a defendant in a lawsuit on election fraud. She hired J. Alexander Halderman to prepare a report to rebut the findings of the independent cybersecurity experts in Antrim County. And the Senate Oversight Committee mentioned his report, didn't mention another report that was prepared 2 months later by a gentleman named Jeff Lesner, who rebuted everything that J. Alexander Halderman said. But the Senate Government Oversight Committee didn't happen to see that, I guess. And I guess they didn't happen to see all the evidence of Dr. Frank, but no, that's wrong. They did see it. They did see it. They did see it. And they said he was wrong. He had scientists, physicists, doctors, educators, all writing a report. We have a real problem, and it is that we do not understand the government that we have been given if we can keep it. I want you to go to our back table if you can. We have copies of this case, this court case, Norton versus Shelby County. It details some very important concepts. Public functionaries, anybody that's working for the government, either elected or appointed as a public functionary. Usurpation is what they are doing today. They have taken our government and they have turned it on its head. They disregard the law. They don't hold themselves accountable. And they will continue to do this unless we start holding them accountable. If it's not in the Constitution, it is not a law. If a public functionary violates their delegated responsibilities, they should be removed from office. And it's you and I that have to remove them. That's our job. We're in a war, people. We can't just sit down and expect someone else to do the work. We have to rise up and do the work. Remember, an unconstitutional act, and there's a boatload of them. They spend their days writing unconstitutional acts, quite frankly. It confers no rights. It imposes no duties, and it affords no protection to the usurpers, but we have to hold them accountable. There are two types of law. One is good, de jure. If you hear the word de jure, that means it is constitutional, or it's a law that is based upon the Constitution. De facto law is bad law. It's just a matter of fact because the tyrant happens to say it's the law. We have to start choosing our words to fight the enemy that we're confronted with. In my opinion, with all the evidence that we have, the 2020 election should be declared null and void in its entirety. I'm going to end right now by reading a little prayer, and I think you've all heard a version of this, and it's a serenity prayer. If you'll bow your heads with me, I would really appreciate it. God, grant us the courage to change the things that we can change, the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. But God, grant us the courage not to give up when what we think is right, even though we think it might be hopeless. Amen.